she doesn't need to necessarily go out and try to learn that in a chaotic environment. You make the environment consistent and simple, and you work on one specific thing, and you wire those patterns just like you were talking about.
To me, it's a no-brainer, but like it's about getting this information out there so that people can start thinking through this and be like, okay, like I see what you're saying.
It's our podcast. Doing wow, doing wow.
Fronts, 1-2 on the way. Narvaez.
I'll start it right there. Hey guys, welcome to Kova Sports Brick by Brick podcast. My name's TJ Antone. I play for the Cincinnati Reds. This is my partner, Jeremy Kidville, former player with the Reds and also owner of Kova Sports. We bring this podcast to you because we wanted more time with y'all. We don't really like, sometimes we like going on Instagram and trying to teach you guys, but other times we just don't think there's enough time to teach everything we want to teach. So the podcast is where it's at. We want to try and get some information out to y'all, and, it's going to take a little bit more time to really convey our thoughts and get you guys to, understand what our thoughts are on some of this stuff. Our goal with this podcast, we want to bring y'all fresh insight of the game of baseball, player development. We're going to do some interviews coming up with active players, go some other coaches from different parts of the world, different guys in major leagues, like everything. We're going to get a lot of this stuff out for you guys and just get some thoughts on player development and, really what we enjoy doing, and that's getting guys better. Episode 3 here today. There's a fly in the house. Nice. Episode 3 here today. We're going to answer a question that we just don't think gets asked enough, and that is travel ball or development. Ooh. And I think there's a major disconnect there between where players are at skill level wise and where they want to go, or like how long they want to play baseball. There's obviously a bell curve of talent level. And if you don't know what the bell curve is, I'll put it on the screen now. A bell curve is a normal distribution, in this case, of talent amongst baseball players at any age. So really, before we dive into the episode, I want to lay some foundation here and talk about, so if we have a bell curve, if we look at that right here, if we have the bell curve, the middle section is going to be average skill level amongst players. If we look way to the right, you're looking at high-level D1, professional athletes, major leaguers, future major leaguers. You look on the far left, below-average athletes, and athletes that, are just, they have no skill at all. So what we're dealing with a lot at Kova is mostly the middle of the graph. We do have athletes that are below average. We have athletes that are average. We have athletes that are above average as well. And the reason why I say this question doesn't get asked enough, development or travel ball, is because I believe that if you are on the middle or on the left side of the graph, below average talent, and I ask you, what's your goal? What do you want to do? Do you just want to play varsity baseball? Do you want to play at college? You want to play professional? I would go to argue that every single one, like 100% of athletes in our gym will answer that question and say, I want to play college baseball. There's not a kid that comes into our gym that does not want to play college baseball. Now, if it's a youth guy, he's like, 9 years old and he's just having fun. That's a different story. But we're talking about kind of once you hit age 12 and it starts to get a little bit more serious. 12 through high school, we'll talk about mostly today. And, I think around those ages, the kids start to realize, okay, I'm good at baseball or I enjoy baseball. 1, how can I get better? And 2, how do I get to the next level? But the third question, really the first question should be, how can I get better? But should I play travel ball or should I develop? And that question really rarely gets asked. That's not even a thought for some of these parents. And there's a lot of analogies I use. A couple of them are, if your race car is on the track, you can't work on the engine. That's a pretty simple thing. So if we're out playing and we're playing every weekend and we're spending a lot of our time, our CNS, which is our central nervous system, if we're spending a lot of that energy and dollars, mind you, on travel ball, and I'm a below average baseball player, what am I doing really? What am I accomplishing really? Yes, baseball is fun, best sport ever. That's why I coach it. That's why I play it. I love baseball. But if our true goal here is to play at the next level, we have to understand that we may have to take a season off and focus on some of these skill acquisitions stuff. And I want to go into that a little bit right before we start. So as I was saying, we're going to lay a foundation. So we can all agree there's different skill levels amongst these baseball players. There's below average, average, above average. We can all agree that if you want to play college baseball, you probably have to be above average, above the average baseball player. Would you agree, Kibble?
Yeah, and I mean, there's different levels you can play at, but yeah, you have to be above average to play at the next level.
For sure. So how do we move from the left side of the graph? And I even drew this at Kova. We have a whiteboard. I drew this picture of the bell curve, and I said, how can we move to the right daily? And, I didn't get a chance to, talk to a lot of kids about it, but like our goal is just constantly moving to the right. How can we take a below average kid and move him to average? How can we take an average kid and move him to above average? How can we take an above average kid and move him to an elite baseball player? Our goal, one of our goals at Kova, and I say this all the time, is we want kids to reach their highest potential. And whatever that potential is, so be it. If your potential as a baseball player is to play on varsity and be a varsity starter, and then after high school be done, you know what, brother? I'm going to help you become a varsity baseball player. I'm going to help you be a good varsity baseball player. I'm going to dive into it and help you just be a great baseball player and have a great high school career. And so be it. I want you to reach your potential. Now, if your potential is a major leaguer, we have that covered too, obviously. I've done it. Kibble has been a part of that as well. Like, we've done a lot of these things, and we'll dive into that later as well. But our goal is to help you reach your highest potential. So let's talk a little bit about, skill acquisition. We touched on it last time. I'll put the graph up that I meant to put up on the second episode right now. So this graph shows skill on the bottom. We have low skill on the left, high skill on the right. And then we have challenges, or, the demand of the game, whatever the challenge is. Low challenge on the left, low challenge down low on the left side, high challenge up at the top. So you can see this flow channel that we want to be in. If we have low skill and super high challenges, we have this anxiety state, and we're not growing. It's just scary. That would be like putting a 7-year-old facing Chapman. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not even worth our time. Or we can go to the other side. We can have high skill and very low challenge. That would be the flip situation. That'd be Chapman throwing at a T-ball game. Like, it's just boring. There's really nothing going on. There's no adaptation. There's no learning that happens. So we really want to be in this flow channel as we're going through skill acquisition. And while we talked about it last time, it's a very finicky line that we're trying to constantly chase. We're constantly evaluating what we see, seeing the kids' talent level, skill level, and then we're trying to push that a little bit where it's engaging and it's challenging and it's slightly above their threshold so that they're acquiring skills. So let's touch on how we acquire these skills. There's a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. He has a 10,000 rep rule in there. While 10,000 reps is not the absolute, you have to do 10,000 reps and then all of a sudden you're just this perfect pitcher or perfect hitter. I just think that's a good rule of thumb to base off of. And it's not just reps either. You could be doing really bad reps. It's intentional, focused reps. And when we have guys come in and they do intentional, focused reps, we see massive gains very fast. And when we see someone just coming in there because it's fun to come in there and it's loud and it's engaging and the atmosphere is fun and they're just there for their friends, it is what it is. That we may see improvements. We try our best to hold our kids accountable on everything they do, but the kid has to hold themselves accountable as well. The next book that I wanted to reference is The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle. You should read that. It's a very good book. Talks about these little hotbeds of talent and why he thinks there's these hotbeds of talent, and a lot of it has to do with practice. And for example, there was a tennis player out of Ukraine, I think, somewhere in Europe, and this tennis player did not play a match until she was 12 years old. And everyone kind of shot it down. It was like, oh, what are you doing? She never played a tennis match. She literally only trained. and she trained from like 6 years old till 12, never played a match. And then she played a match and she crushed everyone. And they were like, whoa, what is this? What's going on? It's like, all she did was train. All she did was work on her craft for so many years. And while she's not prepared to just join the professional tour or anything, but she's way ahead of where she's at. And we've talked to David about that with doing it with his kids. Like, hey, what do you think about maybe, not letting your kids play T-ball and just having them come in here and hit off the machine or hit off the tee for, instead of them going to a tournament and getting, 7 swings off and doing it that way, have him come in here and get him 150 swings. And you're right there in his pocket, giving him small little, verbal cues or constraint drills to kind of like have him play games with them, gamify it. It's a lot of fun. And then, you kind of compound that over years. And now the kid just is way better than everyone else. And, the compound effect is astronomical. Like it works in a lot of facets in life. Last thing I want to touch on before I kind of hand it over to Kibble. I know this has been kind of quick and a lot of information very fast, but something that I really love and it's in the talent code is the myelin sheath. So the myelin sheath is a substance. I'm going to go ahead and read this what I found online. The myelin sheath is a substance which is found on neurons within the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Myelin sheath is the protective layer that wraps around the axons of neurons to aid in insulating the neurons and increasing the number and speed of electrical signals being transferred. So let's break that down for you. If I tell my hand to squeeze, right, there are neurons from my brain going down my nervous system all the way to my hand to contract the muscles. Now, if my sport was hand squeezing, and I had never done a hand squeeze before, I've never ever done this before. Those electrical signals to my hand, it's essentially like traveling down a dirt road. It could happen. It's just going to happen slow, and it's just not going to be very efficient. One time my hand might squeeze like this, and then like this, and then it starts to get better, and then the skill of squeezing the hand begins those neurons begin to fire in a more efficient pattern because the myelin sheath begins to wrap the neurons down that path. Now let's take it all the way to the other extreme. A very, very skilled person. I'll use myself as an example. Pitcher in the big leagues, the art of throwing a baseball 100 miles an hour. Those neurons have to fire so precise and in the perfect sequence, and the firing mechanism has to be so on point that's why it takes so long. And the only way that can happen is if those neurons are heavily insulated with the myelin sheath. And instead of a dirt road, now the neurons are traveling something like a highway, like an Autobahn. Like they are flying the open road, and they just, there they go. Like they've done this 100 times, 10,000 times. And boy, those things go. And then they just know right where to go. So myelin sheath is very important. And that's kind of like the biological, side behind it. But I think that's also important for people to understand, because every single thing we do is insulating our axons, the path that is traveling down. So if we're not intentionally focused with every single movement we do, and we're a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, and we're going out on the weekend and we're swinging at bad pitches, and we're going to practice on Wednesday, and we're just hanging out with our boys, hitting in the cage, no feedback. Coach is just throwing front toss or underhand toss or whatever. And, you're just taking hacks and you're not having that intentional focus. That can like deteriorate a player very fast. If they are below average, you're just holding them back. Whereas our argument for this question, the travel ball or development question, would be, instead of playing, let's take a year off. Let's take the car off the track, and let's work on some of this stuff, And so we'll go more into that. But I want to pass this over to Kibble. So Kibble, where does travel ball? Let me ask this question for you. Where does travel ball become an issue for players and their goals?
Yeah, so I think really what it is the players get to a certain level, say it's 12 or it's 13 or it's 14 or it's 15, and they're lacking which is getting them they're lacking somewhere, which is putting them on the bottom of that bell curve, right? And then what we do on the development side is we address those just like the girl played tennis. So like she has a good forehand that she can smoke and put where she wants. So she doesn't need to necessarily go out and try to learn that in a chaotic environment. You make the environment consistent and simple, and you work on one specific thing, and you wire those patterns just like you were talking about. And that's kind of what we're doing. And it becomes an issue whenever the player has the goal to play at the next level and the parent has the goal for their kid to perform well. So it's like this button head thing, with like I talk to parents all day, every day about like, hey, like this kid should commit to training. He wants to play college baseball. He's at the bottom of that bell curve, i.e., like he throws 80 and he's a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that that bell curve's, in the middle's at 87. So we got to get there at least, and they're way down here. So we get to focus on those things a little bit more. Kind of an analogy I've been using with the players when they're doing their drill work, just like what you were saying was, I'm like, you're a computer. Every single rep that you do is a file that you choose to download. You can either choose to download a bad file, or you can choose to download a good file. And it's my job to let you know which file is good or bad. And then from there, you wire the pattern. I know I'm kind of bouncing back and forth on both sides. I wanted to touch on that. But yeah, that's essentially what we're doing. Whenever you go into making that decision, it's, do we want to be great and give ourselves an opportunity to play at the next level? Or do we just want to go out and play and enjoy the game? And hey, like you said, that's cool, right? But at the same time, if you're going to do something and you choose to do it, I'm all about like, why don't you just be great at it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially this day and age, it's a little bit different. We don't just go to the park and like swing the bat, and some kids good and some kids bad. It's like we have the means of training to help create opportunities for yourself, and that's what we're doing at Kova. So, can you ask that question one more time?
Yeah. So where does travel ball become an issue for players and their goals?
Yeah. The issue, I think I already said it, but the issue really is just, if you want to play at the next level, you have to take a step back and sacrifice playing a season or two, or maybe even four, if you're on the bottom of that bell curve and you have high goals for yourself. That's where the issue comes in for me. I mean, what do you think about that?
No, you're 100% correct. I think the issue is exactly, what is your goals? What's your goals? And I'm completely fine with, kids from every degree, like JJ Rickert. I want to play in the big leagues. Great. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Someone else walks in the door. I'm trying to make the varsity squad. I didn't make the team last year. I want to make the squad. Great. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point, as a coach, we have to evaluate, all right, what's the skill level of this player? Do we think that's attainable in the time period that they're giving us to attain this goal? And if it's not attainable, that's when we have the conversation of, okay, this goal is not it's not really possible. I'm not a magician. I can't just like snap my fingers and your kid's just throwing 900 miles an hour. We have to be reasonable. And sometimes I think where the issue is when a player walks in and their goal is the time period to achieve that goal is too short, and we have to get off the tracks to get a leverage to leverage our situation a little bit better and get the reps we need. I was going to make a complete diagram. I didn't have time of the cost associated with a typical high school player playing travel ball that's underdeveloped. So let's say a freshman in high school. He goes and plays for the local travel ball team. And in Texas, summer ball, that's June, July, and some of August, usually half of August. It's about $2,500 just to play on a team. That includes, uniform, the tournament fees, and so forth. $2,500. Whereas you can look on our website as of right now, our cost is $500 a month for unlimited training. So if we do the same 3 months, so June, July, August, have a kid take off that season, with us, he's spending $1,500. With travel ball, he's spending $2,500. In terms of achieving the goal, what this kid's goal is, which path is going to be a higher result at the end of getting the kid skill level, raising the kid's skill level.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know,
yep.
It's a very tough decision because all your boys, like our culture and like the way travel ball has become is just like play, and then play some more. And in reality, if we take that same situation, take the money out of it, a typical, let's go freshman, same situation. Typically what this freshman would do if he's playing travel ball, he goes to a lesson on Monday or Tuesday. He's got team practice on Wednesday. And then he goes and plays Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Goes and plays 3 or 4 games on the weekend. So let's say he pitched on the weekend. Let's even say he threw a whole game. He threw 100 pitches, right? So he's throwing one midweek bullpen. He might toss the ball around at team practice on Wednesday, and then he's throwing 100 pitches on the weekend. Whereas if we take him off the track and let's work on some stuff, we're able to work with him 6 days a week. We're able to do throwing training every single day because we modulate and monitor the intensities and the volume. And so instead of the kid throwing 100 pitches and a bullpen here and some lackadaisical catch play on Wednesday, we are forcing our kids to have high intention. I mean, we hold them very accountable at Kova. Like if someone walks in and they are just jacking around, like we'll ask someone to leave. It's happened before and it's probably going to happen again. And that's just the culture we want to build there. And we know what it takes, and it takes the intentional focus. So when a kid takes off, when we had that conversation with the parents and they say, okay, do you want to spend $2,500 or do you want to spend $1,500? In reality, the better investment is paying for development, because if you really want to play college baseball and then we end up helping you get a scholarship, how much money did you just make on that scholarship? How much money did you just save your parents? And you actually save money by not playing. You actually save money by not playing, and you made money on the back end. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's a no-brainer. But like, it's about getting this information out there so that people can start thinking through this and be like, okay, like I see what you're saying. And I honestly think the best 2 years to take off is like 3 years, eighth grade, ninth grade, and 10th grade. Those are like the best years. Mm-hmm. You know, it's really tough for me to tell a junior to not play. You're getting to that age, you're running out of time. You do need to play. And maybe we'll take off, you know, the fall season and develop there. But 8th, 9th, and 10th grade, like I said before, if
one season,
just one season, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade, like just take off one season, and you're going to come back out on the other side better. Yeah. So
I think while this is on my brain here, from the parents and players' perspective, because they haven't been there and done it, if you look at the game of baseball, there is so many things to be good at, right? There's throwing, there's hitting, there's fielding, there's situational awareness, there's pitch selection, there is mindset, there's so many, I can't even list all of them. And what you're doing, I think the parents, for example, I had talked to a parent this past week where they were concerned that if they take off time to develop, that they're going to lose the ability to field like a comebacker. Like as a pitcher, like they don't want to lose that. And, you know, I'm not knocking on them. They just don't have the awareness.
Bro, I played 162 games last year. I don't even think I got one comebacker.
Yeah. But even
you know what I'm saying?
But you got to be able to back up bases and all that. But like,
yeah,
that's where they think they need to like focus. And if they lose that, it's like, oh no, like, yes, you got to know baseball IQ, but you don't really need that until you get to like AA, high A, where you're really, you know, playing with elite level players that are all good, but we got to get there first. There first. So I think that, you know, what we're offering is the skill development. So like if your kid hits the ball harder than the other kids, that is going to be a good thing. If your kid makes more consistent contact in comparison to the other kids, that is a really good thing. If your kid throws 5 to 6 miles an hour harder than the average velocity at that age, It doesn't matter what the ball's doing when it's coming back to you. Like even if you make an error, you're probably going to punch guys out. So
Yep.
if we can take the time to wire those patterns with their movement, to work on getting their pitches to an elite level, then they go out with those developed skills in those weekend games as a junior, as a senior, and that's when they get the scholarships instead of being out there and being below average with those skill sets that matter and that make an impact in gameplay.
100%. No, you nailed that. Like, I couldn't have said it better myself. So talk a little bit about like, now that I feel like have convinced the listeners of this show that like how important development is. Touch a little bit about how Kova develops. Like what are our philosophies? Just like real quick, nothing in detail, but like what are we trying? Like how do we accomplish these goals in a timely manner and get these kids better?
Yeah. Well, I think really what we do is we pick certain things that we know are important with the foundation. And with hitters and throwers, it's learning how to move efficiently. That's the first foundation because you're here, and then on the other end of the spectrum, it's going to be repeating your mechanics and being able to move the ball 2 inches here, 2 inches there, being able to spin it and change the axis of spin one or 2 inches because you're facing a righty. Like real in detail stuff. Like we don't need to be there. We have to first build a good movement base and then make that repeatable, and then the stuff is going to come later. So that's what we're doing is we're addressing the foundation of the player, and that's what we're prioritizing. And we have a really good system of doing that. We have assessments. Guys come in, we assess them, and the number one thing for us is to build that foundation of movement so they can repeat and they can play every day. Right? So we use the assessment to see where their weak points are with their movement, and then we attack that with very specific drills. That's on the skill side. That would be like a player getting 100 million, kind of good reps versus a player getting 150 absolutely perfect reps working on their lowest hanging fruit with their movement. That's how we cut the time down where it's like 10,000 reps, but could it be like 200? Because I've seen it, especially with some guys that have a lot of body awareness. And then in the weight room as well, it's like, hey, like my kid can't swing a bat and stay on his feet, but I'm asking him to go 4 for 4 with three doubles. It's like, okay, well, let's get him. Let's put some kettlebells in his hand and start squatting a little bit and build that foundation of strength, and build that foundation of power so they can produce and express force in the field of play. That's what we're doing. We know what they're going to need, and then we take 10 steps back to address it, but in the long run we're going to take 20 steps forward. So like I said, we have the assessment, we attack the weak points, we get them on a very solid strength conditioning program to build muscle mass, to build strength, to build power, to build elasticity. We give them, it's not like if I see an inefficiency with a player in their movement, I can probably give them a mobility exercise that'll help kind of even lower the time of them being able to
Mm-hmm.
hit certain positions. And we've done it for long enough now that we see, like, when we clean these patterns up, guys throw harder, which is going to get them above the average velocity level, which is going to create more swings and misses, which in return doesn't matter if they hit a comeback or two because you're probably going to punch guys out, like I said. And then, their bodies have the capacity to go play a 162 game season if they get to that level.
Yeah.
Because as well as I do, when you get up there, it's dog eat dog. You got to be ready every day, especially if you're a reliever. And if you're, Gumby and you have no strength or movement capacity, you're probably going to get hurt, which even if you do, you might get hurt. So if
Mm-hmm.
we can build that foundation with the players now on the strength conditioning side, they're going to be way ahead of the game. So there's a lot that goes into it, but to sum it up, what we do is we attack their weaknesses and we build their foundation for them to be successful going forward.
Yeah, 100%. We assess them. We target a specific area. Another thing that you didn't touch on is we give a lot of feedback. We have slow-mo cameras. We got coach feedback. We got velocity, like gun with a stalker radar gun feedback, hit tracks feedback. As much we're putting as much data in front of these kids as possible. In the weight room, we got VBT feedback, which is velocity based training, which is the bar speed. You have actual weight on the bar. like there's so much feedback that's being given to these kids. Like I was joking the other day when I was still there is like, dude, if I had the stuff when I was in high school and I was a hitter, I would have been so good. Like it would have been ridiculous. But I didn't have it. I just hit off the tee and did like front toss. Like I just did reps. I didn't know there was like an efficient. I didn't even know what sequencing was. I just swung hard. You know what I mean? And there's so much more knowledge in the game, with the internet, and there's so much more knowledge that we have now. So we're able to like pass that forward to the kids, and it's awesome. The kids are also able to like go look at other Instagram pages and gain knowledge and come in and ask us questions. Hey, I saw this on Instagram. Like, what'd you think? Hey, I actually like that. I like it in this variation, but I like that. You know what I mean? Like, I like what they do over there. I like that guy or whatever it may be. There's some people that come in there. They're like, what is this? I'm like, that's terrible. Let's not do that. Yeah. That's just for fluff on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So sure. It's, there's good information, bad information. And, I think the last thing that what we have an advantage over everyone is that we have coaches where the players want to be. Myself in the major leagues, you professional for 8 years, David professional, Barfield professional. Like there's all our other coaches, D1 athletes, JUCO guys who have been through. Like both of us have gone through injuries. Both of us have David, me, you, and David all have gone through the D1 scholarship recruiting process. So we're able to help with that kind of stuff. When you're picking a trainer, like, maybe you don't live close to us, but when you're picking, a coach or a trainer, I always use this joke, but it's like, if you just wanted to lose weight and you wanted to go find a personal trainer, and you go to the local gym, you're like, I want to lose some weight. And the personal trainer that comes up to you is like fat. Like, would you pick them? Like, if you're wanting to lose weight and the personal trainer you're about to use is fat, like, that never made sense to me, like being a fat personal trainer. And I apologize if I'm stepping on any toes right there, but like that just doesn't make sense to me because I want someone that's going to help me get to my, achieve my goals. And if my goal is to lose weight, I'm not going to follow someone who can't even listen to their own medicine and do it their own way. Unsuccessful financial advisors, you could do it in any realm of business. So my kind of like dream for all the players is like, do your research on who you're going to train with. And like, make sure ask them questions. Like, have you been through the recruiting process? Can you help me with the recruiting process? How high have you played? Oh, I only played in high school. Well, like, what do you expect to get out of this? Now, again, I don't want to knock everyone. There are people who just play high school baseball and absolutely dive into training and get their stuff together and figure it out later in life. And that's cool. Like, that is great. But like, there is part of it, like, you got to have skin in the game.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, TJ's in the big leagues, guys. So like, and then I got pretty close to it. So he's there. I got close, and I tell this to parents all the time. I played at the highest level, and I saw the attributes and the habits from the players that didn't make it and the players that did make it over an 8-year period.
Yeah.
So I can see like what personality traits, like what habits the players have, their mindset, their mentality, how they go about their business. And I'm just like, this guy's not going to, he's not, I mean, and we might not be talking about big leagues. We could just be talking about, high school ball. I'm just like, this guy is just not going to, we got to make some changes. And then I see that, and then I start going right into it. Sometimes I talk to players for 20 minutes because that might be more important than this perfect little specific drill that we got for your arm action. Because if I can get your mind right, then you go into that drill work a little bit different. Think about like a little bit different. Think about like Tiger Woods. Like, how many swings does that guy have? Right? He knows like if the club face opens up 1 degree, like, and why it happened. So like, if you're learning how to hit your golf swing and you got a guy like Tiger Woods telling you, it's like he's going to cut the time down for you to acquire that skill. TJ's in the big leagues. I have had injuries and come back from them. He has had injuries and come back from them. So when kids come in, they're like, hey, this hurts, that hurts, this hurts. Like, I've probably had that pain 500 times and fixed it already.
Mm-hmm.
So like, use that as a resource. And I do my best every single day, every week, helping manage players when it comes to stuff like that, because, you're going to have issues when it comes to, injuries and like setbacks. But if we manage those appropriately now, we really set ourselves up for success. I can remember times when I was 12, 13, 14, and my elbow is on fire, and I'm just throwing through it, throwing through it, throwing through it. We have a stud he's having a little bit of cuff and bicep tendonitis kind of on the tendon in front of the shoulder, and it's getting to the end of the season, right? And he's hanging a little bit, and it happens. He's got a pretty big workload, right? And they want to roll him out there, and you know what? I told him to tell his coach, you need to miss a start. This has been an issue that we've addressed, and you're not recovering from it. So why are we going to go out and throw 7 innings for a game that doesn't matter in the long run? Miss a start, fully recover from it, come back, don't develop any compensation patterns around the injury. We're doing just fine. So just for the players to have that as a resource, I think is huge. And same thing for TJ too. Like when it comes to I've seen TJ do pitch design bullpens, and it's like just genius. Like he feels every single little degree of your hand, and he sees how the pitch is, coming out of your hand, and he can make adjustments to guys. And I've learned a lot from him because TJ's so good at that stuff. It's you know, that's an unbelievable resource. TJ has been on the mound against elite level hitters and thrown nasty stuff, right where he wants to, 2 inches off the black, right below the zone, because he's not going to get his barrel to it. And he knows what that feels like. He knows what it looks like. And we can go into that. For example, if we have a JJ Rickard or a Goddard or somebody who's more of an elite player, they probably move pretty well. We'll make sure that they don't move bad, right? But then we can really focus on getting their stuff to an elite level as well. We can focus on developing elite level stuff so they have an arsenal going into college, and they know where to move their hand, where to throw the pitch, and what count. I think it's an unbelievable resource for guys.
Yeah. All we're trying to do is change the culture of, I say youth baseball, but really it's 9 through high school, 10 through high school. We're just trying to change that culture a little bit and just get people a little bit more aware of where they are amongst their peers. I think that's very important. And not to say a 9-year-old's not going to go play and then get better. Sure, they will. Playing helps as well, but we're trying to expedite that process. And we know that taking some time off, just a simple 1 season, will help a ton. So that was a pretty quick podcast today. Kibble said he's got some speed questions for me, so I want to hear what he's got.
All right, we're going to do a little speed question round for TJ Antone here. All right, so I would like the answers within 10 seconds or so. So you ready?
I'm just going to say the first thing that comes to my mind every time.
All right, here we go. Going off my list here. All right, best arm action drill.
Pivot pickoff.
Okay. Best recovery option day after competition.
Long distance biking.
Okay, so getting some blood flow.
Massive blood flow.
Good. Okay. Best hitter you have faced.
Ryan McMahon. He's on the Rockies. I've thrown 2 pitches to him, and he's hit both of them over 100 miles an hour. So.
Oops. Most annoying hitter you have faced. Tough out.
Yeah, tough out. Rizzo's pretty annoying. He stands right on the dish, doesn't like the ball in, so you end up throwing the ball in, and then he's does the whole you're throwing it in. It's just kind of annoying. He has good bat to ball skills, so he fouls a lot of stuff off. Rizzo.
Yep. What is the best pitch in baseball?
A hard slider.
Agreed.
Looks just like a fastball, does not move like a fastball.
Fun fact. An average slider is the best pitch in baseball. An average slider is the best pitch in baseball.
I like that. I would agree with that as well. An average slider.
I'm pretty sure there's data on it too, from the Stuff Plus. An average big league slider has the best whiff rate and weak contact percentage.
I believe it.
So
I believe it.
Crazy stuff. All right, a few more. Favorite ball talk phrase.
Oh, there's one I really want to say, but I cannot say it on here just because it's super, super not appropriate. Best ball talk phrase that's appropriate for YouTube. Oh man,
nice piece.
That's the one I was going with. Good curveball too. Oh, I
Edit
love
that
that
out.
one. It just never gets old. I love Gookies. Nibble, nibble. I
Nibble,
love that.
nibble. I love
Nibble,
that one too.
nibble.
All right, nibble, nibble. I knew you were gonna say that. All
Nibble, nibble.
right, two more. Funniest teammate. Like
Amir.
Amir. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, the dude just clown.
I want.
Absolute clown.
Okay, let's see this. Most competitive teammate.
Ooh.
Like in everything. I'm talking about like, haha, I threw the trash away first. Like just elite level competitor.
There's two people, like they were never my teammates, but like they are two of the most competitive people I've ever met. And one is JJ Rickert. That dude will compete against me in any single thing that I do.
We competed and when he was in the
I love
boot,
it.
when he's in the boot, I was throwing with him. He's like, I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah, dude.
He beat me.
I love it. Incredible competitor. Dude, yeah. The other one is Tony Vitello. He was the recruiting coordinator at TCU when I was there. I believe he's at Tennessee now. Most competitive person I've ever met in my life. It was awesome.
You got to compete. You got to have that. Got to have that edge, baby. All right. Well, that's all the questions I got for you. That was fun. Now you ready?
Easy one today. Well, guys, as always, if you enjoyed this, subscribe. Check out our Instagram. We also do, quick bits on there, little 1-minute videos. Kibble said he's going to start throwing some new videos on there here soon. So we'll be seeing that. And then as well, check out our link tree in the bio on our Instagram. We have a lot of great programs that we sell on there. We have a free pivot pickoff guide. And one thing on the speed round I wanted to clarify on the pivot pickoff, I like the stepping pivot pickoff because it's athletic and like the right foot for on right-handed thrower, the right foot stepping, the opposite step throwing, because it really helps you like drive forward. Sorry for that caveat.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like it.
Yeah. And then we also have a in-season throwing guide and a 6-week bat speed program. So check that stuff out, guys. If you guys have any questions at all, we do want to eventually do a Q&R session. So drop those questions down in the comment section below, and we will for sure get back to you. We'll probably gather all those questions up and just have like a read through, and we'll go over every single one of them. So even on any of the other videos, if you have a question on a previous video, just drop it in the comment section and we will get back to it. Guys, thanks for spending your time with us today. Really appreciate it. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Have a good one.
Yeah.